Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Śaṅkarācārya madhyamam Asmadācārya paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mūkam karoti vācālam Pangum langayate girim Yat krupatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam. Om Shishya Atma Samarpan. Karpanya dosho upahata swabhavaha Prichhami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha Yashreyasyan nishchitam bruhi tanme Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. Om. Welcome to the class, and we are in the 69th shloka of the second chapter in Bhagavad Gita. The shloka goes like this: Ya Niśā Sarva Bhūtānām Tasyām Jagarti Sanyami Yasyām Jagrati Bhūtāni Sa Niśā Pashyato Muneः. Basically, here Bhagavan just said that what is a day for everybody is a night for the jnani, and what is night for everyone is a day for jnani. And then we looked into various aspects which differentiates in terms of the outlook. Detailed analysis of various stimuli which creates a kind of a change in us. We took a break, and today we will try to reflect upon those values based on some of the Puranic stories. Key concept is the life does not differentiate. The concept, the object that stimulates you are the same for all. Difference is not in what comes to us, rather it is in what it does to us. Objective must be to overcome the pull that one experiences and orient it towards how it relates to the kshetram and dharma. For this, the quote can be from Mahabharata. It is the same kingdom, it is the same situation, it is the same acharya from whom they have learnt as well. It is the same family setup that they have been through. While Duryodhana was seeing threat, he was jealousy. There was an expression of jealous in him. He was comparing Yudhiṣṭhira, the opposite from the Pandavas, the king. He saw duty, responsibility, and dharma. This shift is basically the aspect that is related to our mind. How we take the world which reflects something to us. And that is the place where we can work. On perception, we can find in ourselves that we are not experiencing the world as it is. Rather, we are experiencing something that our mind interprets. Through perception, we label things like this is good, this is bad, etc. Sthitapragya sees the world with no compulsive labeling. Note, the term is compulsive. So it is not that he will not term things, but it will not be compulsive in him. It will not make him react. So for this, we can reflect upon Ramayana. Mandara introduces a new perception. Nothing externally changed. It is the same kingdom. It is the same 4 children. It is the same king Dashrath. Nothing externally changed, but with a small stimuli, the perception of Kaikeyi fully changed. Kingdom, which was once even considered that it is going to be led by Ram, became a threat. The love towards Ram became an insecurity towards Bharata, her own son. Life changes not when events change, but when the interpretation changes, is the core value that we get from this particular aspect in Ramayana. Thoughts represents the manas and the buddhi. Your thoughts are not facts. They are merely responses to your own perception. While the common man takes the approach of why me? This is always happening to me. I am the unluckiest, and so on. A Sthitapragya will be only observational in nature. This is what is happening. Period. Nothing more. For this, we can go back to look at Shrimad Bhagavatam, the story of Prahlad. Surrounded by hostility, everyone is praising Hiranyakashipu. What does Prahlad do? He is not disturbed at all. But for him, Narayana is everywhere. Param Drishtva. Others see danger in seeing Narayana, while Prahlada sees the divinity. When he encounters the Narasimha avatar, while his father was totally devastated, he was stuck with fear. The same persona, the same image created a sense of divinity in him. He was able to see Narayana in the form of Narasimha, whereas to Hiranyakashipu, it was more of seeing his death. Look at the perception there. Again, the thoughts and the buddhi, how they are influencing him. That is what we need to learn from Shrimad Bhagavatam. That our thoughts, the one that creates a specific response from us through our manas and buddhi, they are in your control. You have the choice to see the divinity everywhere, or you have the choice to see you versus me with a separation. That separation creates a sense of insecurity in you. When you see the divinity everywhere, that insecurity is fully gone. In terms of emotions, raga dvesha, emotions are natural. You will see that even Krishna became very emotional in some of the areas. When you read through, when he was being cursed by Gandhari, he was definitely reflecting the sorrow in him. So those emotions are natural. Bondage is not attached to the emotions, but the identification you create of yourself with that emotion results in the bondage. A common man will think like, I am angry, whereas a Sthitapragya will observe anger is arising in me. Not even in me, actually. It is anger is arising. He is that objective. For this, again, we can reflect back on Ramayana. When about to be crowned, being exiled, there was no anger, there was no dismay, there was no sorrow in Lord Ram. There was nothing against Kaikeyi or against the situation. There was no resistance towards the situation. The only thing that Lord Ram saw was what is Dharma in that situation. Emotion was indeed present, but disturbances due to that emotion was absent. And that is again a lesson that we can look at to say that, hey, for us to become that Sthitapragya, this is what I need to start working towards. Desires, again, very similar to emotions. Desires is not the problem. In fact, desire is natural. It is even considered as one of the forms of Shakti. Ichha Shakti is the word that is given to it. So having the desire is a power that you are blessed with. It is very natural as well. But dependence on that desire or being driven towards that desire is the problem. A common man is driven by the emotion that without this, I am incomplete. And this is the painful aspect. The feeling of I am incomplete is the core to samsara. When you always feel you are complete, then this particular difference goes away. His own fullness being lost by or through the desire is a problem that we all have. A Sthitapragya will see the utility driven by the purpose for which he has been created, which is the Kshetra Paripalana and Dharma Rakshana. The only two things that will be driving him is this. And thus, the desire becomes a strength for a Sthitapragya and not a problem. That is why what is night for common man is a day for a Sthitapragya. For this, we can look at Kathopanishad. What happens is, in Kathopanishad, Nachiketa will be, just as a matter of words, his father will say, I'm going to give you to Yamadharma Raja. So he says, this is in a yajna, you have given me, so I have to go. And he goes to Yamadharma Raja. He waits outside Yamadharma Raja's fort for 3 days. So when Yamadharma Raja comes back, he asks him, hey, what is it that you are waiting? So because you waited, I'm going to give you 3 boons. The first one, the second one, and in fact, he is given some more awards for his excellence in terms of grasping things, etc. That happens. And for the third one, he asks about Atmajnana. Then Yamadharma Raja will offer all sorts of other things. He will say that I will give you a long life. I will give you abundance of wealth and power. He just rejects them. And his point will be, if you are willing to give all those things in place of Atmajnan, it simply means the value of Atmajnan is far more than the value of what you are trying to offer. And hence, I will continue to ask only for that one. And then he gets the Upadesh from Yamadharma Raja. He does not reject, rather he is having the clear drive towards the higher value that he is sought. There is another inspirational story. I don't really remember who the characters are. There will be a place where a person will ask, hey, if you were a bee, and in front of you there is a pot of honey kept, what will you do? The honey will say that I will sit in a corner and take that which I need. That clarity should be there. The desire becoming a strength, at the same time desire not weakening you. That clarity should be there from desires. Don't try to resist the desires in you. Rather, make the desire as a strength by focusing on Kshetra Paripalana and Dharma Rakshana. Actions, the karma. Actions can arise out of clarity or compulsions. The key difference between the common man and the Sthitapragya is a common man will act driven by the desires for result, whereas a Sthitapragya will act in accordance with dharma towards the objective, where the objective is defined in our darshana as Kshetra Paripalana. Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself is the best example for this. Acts intensely but with no personal agenda, driven purely by dharma. Parikshit, when he's not yet born, but when he comes out of the womb, he will be dark and he will be like a stillborn baby. Lord Krishna will take his toe and put it on the body of Parikshit and say that if it is true that I have never lied, and if it is true that I have held my brahmacharyam, let the child rise. And the child comes to life. The subtlety in this is there may be so many things about Krishna where we can say that he has lied. Very clearly he has lied. For example, in the famous one where he eats the makhan or the butter and says that I have not. Direct lie. There are several places. Of course, in terms of his marriage, he has 16,000 wives. He has 2 queens. So it is like, and then he says, I hold my brahmacharyam. You should reflect back on the Śloka in the chapter 5th, where once you attain that state, no matter, even if you see, you are not seeing. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Swashan, Pralapan, Visrajan, Grinhan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi. No matter what he does, it is not an action performed by him. The Atma remains free of karma. That clarity should be there. I am merely an instrument of Prakriti at that point in time in this Anatma Swarupa. That clarity will be there in the Sthitapragya, which we will lack. So for us, all the actions that we perform, we will attach the Ahambhava and will say that I did it. For a Sthitapragya, though he says, I did it, his reference of the I totally changes. in his mindset. And that makes the difference between a Sthitapragya and a common person. Now, habits and practices. We know that habits, they get created through repetitions. You are identified with what you are best at. And what you are best at is that which you have repeated, which is the habit. You observe, learn, and repeat. You observe, learn, and repeat. For a common man, habits strengthen his conditioning. That is something that you have to keep in mind. My habits are strengthening and it is conditioning me to think in a specific way. We can take our own example. I have been teaching Bhagavad Gītā for several years. There is an identity that is getting set as a scholar of Gita, one who knows Bhagavad Gita too well. When I fall a prey to such an identity, I will try to preserve it. In other words, when I go out to meet somebody and they say that, hey, this guy is a great person with Bhagavad Gita knowledge, etc., I try to hold on to that particular identity of being knowledgeable about Gita. That would be a person who is a commoner. For a Sthitapragya, it will not be there at all. The person who has identified me or as having the Bhagavad Gita knowledge is his opinion. A person can have any opinion, which is absolutely fine. And one of the opinion is he says he thinks that I have an absolute of great knowledge, in-depth knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. Insofar as I am concerned, it is something that gets revealed and it just continues to get revealed. I still continue to learn, I still continue to reflect, and my life is based on those aspects. There is still the habit, but there is no recognition that gets associated with me, in me, about me. That change will drive a person towards becoming a Sthitapragya. To Sthitapragya, the habits and practices will dissolve any conditioning, not strengthen the conditioning. You can see the opposites. Values. Values decide the direction of our life. While a common man tries to define values based on convenience, a Sthitapragya will have Dharma drive the value to be upheld at any point in time. Bhagavan's action can be seen from this point of view, and you can see how values are upheld, but driven by Dharma. Throughout, be it Shrimad Bhagavatam or be it Mahabharata, you reflect upon any of them, even Ramayana, you will see that the values are driven based on Dharma and it's not based on the convenience of a person. Story of Harishchandra is another inspirational one. You can see how he upheld the value of truth, which drove the Dharma. This is an amazing one. When you go back and read the story of Harishchandra, you will see the kind of difficulties that he had been through. He compromised everything just for the sake of truth. He upheld the Dharma and drove the value of truth to the point even today, if it comes to truth, abiding by truth, his name is the one which stands out. Beliefs, the invisible drivers in life. A common man functions based on the belief that the world defines him, whereas a Sthitapragya will be driven by the realization that I am independent of the world. Remember, when I say I am independent of the world, the body in which I am in this lifespan is part of the Prakriti. I am not that. The I, the self, the Atman, the soul, that is independent of the world. That division in identification will be absolutely clear to a Sthitapragya. I am this body is the way that a common person will see. I am the soul is the way that a Sthitapragya will see. As a soul, I reflect through or I manifest through I express through the limitations of this body, which belongs to the Prakriti. And this Prakriti's guns are the one which are making this body function to a situation. This clarity will arise in Sthitapragya. That clarity is what we need to put ourselves into. When you have this clarity, you are not bothered about how the world is trying to see me, how this world is interpreting this individual called as Naresh. Because that Naresh is an Atmaswarupam. Hari Bhaiya is an Atmaswarupam, which is the same. There is no difference. That Ravi Bhaiya is an Atmaswarupam. But they are all reflecting or manifesting their expressions through a limitation of the body, which is governed by the Prakriti and not necessarily by the soul. It has independent as well as dependent expression. So the expression of the body called, say, Prabhakar has got nothing to do with the soul called as Prabhakar. This clarity will arise. Just because somebody is seeing me as an architect doesn't make me an architect and bound within the frame of the architect. I remain independent. Attributions of titles or capabilities, etc., are for their convenience. They are not a limiting factor of Naresh. I remain independent. And that is the value that we look when we speak about what is a night for a commoner is a day for the jnani, and what is a day for the commoner is a night for the jnani. That opposite has been so well established. So now let us go into some more analysis, which is what is day? When we look at the common man, it is objects, successes, and experiences. For a Sthitapragya, it is not object, successes, and experiences. And what is a night? For a common man, it is self, I, in this body. Truth is this world, awareness, etc. This is the way that a person should see. But as a commoner, what will I see? I will see self to be this body, truth to be that which I experience, awareness to be that which is known to me, not the conscious principle that drives it. For Sthitapragya, objects as source of fulfillment. As a closing remark, see the stimulus clearly. Recognize what's happening. Be aware of your inherent nature to distort them with likes and dislikes. Do not get psychologically bound. Free yourself from inner compulsions like I must react. I should try to take it into my control. Those are the ones which are creating the disturbance in you. Do not get psychologically bound. And when you get psychologically bound, have a realization, and that is more than enough. As the thing progresses, you will understand that this psychological binding which is happening has gotten totally taken away, has been totally liquidated. You are liberated. Mere awareness that you are psychologically bound. Even if in case you reflect it upon some events that happened today, which says that, oh man, yes, I was psychologically bound in this. When we continue this particular exercise, there will be a time when you will be fully free of it. But it is a journey. Right now, that psychological compulsions are very, very natural in us. When we start observing, this tendency tries to go away from us, and instead of every event that is occurring around you binding you psychologically, you will become unbound slowly. And then there will be a point where you will not be psychologically bound at all. Align yourself to Dharma. This is a very key concept which should drive you. Overcome. Now remember, this Dharma is not like a right versus wrong. The moment you come within the sphere of right versus wrong, remember, we are not talking about dharma in the sense of dharma that is being spoken here. You are talking of dharma in the sense of dharma and adharma, in the sense of right versus wrong, in the sense of legality, which has a definition, and being within that definition or beyond that definition. So you have created a boundary and you are trying to live within that particular thing. When we say align yourself to dharma, the meaning is overcome anything that is limiting you, but keep in mind that the dharma, that which bears, dharma is dharayati iti dharma, that bearing aspect of the world should be clear in your mind. It should become the true reflection of you. Overcome the weaknesses. Instead of reacting to life, respond to a purpose. This is a place where we can once again look at our corporate world or our work related aspects. What do? We are stressed because we are trying to react to something that is getting presented to you. When it is reaction, you are not driving, rather the situation is driving you. When you face such a place where the situation is driving you, respond with a purpose. That is a big shift in. You will be naturally reacting at that point in time. But when you apply the brake and say that, hey, I have to respond with the purpose. Maybe I'll have to list out all the things that needs to be done and see if in case I can reprioritize them and bring about a clarity which will help in achieving what I want to achieve as an objective, what this body wants to achieve as an achievement in this situation. Then you get to that point, the change, the shift that happens, which is again the slow process, will lead you to stop being a reactive person to the situation, and it will stimulate you to become more responsive with the clarity of purpose in your life. And that shift is what is looked upon on a good leader. Don't reduce your life. Redefine your relationship towards it. Nothing like, the moment we talk about Bhagavad Gita, etc., people think, okay, he has let go of everything in the world. He has taken a kind of sannyas. He is not even actively involved. That is not what the Dharma teaches us. That is not what Bhagavad Gita teaches us. It is how you redefine your relationship towards your life and make it based on Dharma and Kshetra Paripalana is the main focus of learning the Vedanta. Vedanta should not limit you, should not weaken you in your actions. Rather, it should strengthen you in your purpose and resolve. Remain internally independent. That is the core value that we get out of this shloka. And that is what we always keep as a tagline for us to reflect upon every time that we slip in our life. So proceeding to Bhāṣyam, Acharya says, Ya Niśā Ratrihi Sarva Padarthanam Aviveka Kari Tamaha Swabhavatvat Sarvesham Bhūtānām Sarva Bhūtānām. Basically, he is giving the word as to what it represents. That which is night, which by its very nature as darkness, tamaha swabhavaha, becomes the cause of non-discrimination with respect to all worldly objects. We need to understand, becomes the cause of non-discrimination with respect to everything that we experience. That is regarded as the night by ordinary beings, Sarva Bhūtānām. And then he explains that the Sthitapragya is focused on Paramartha Tattvam, as we had seen in the Prahlada story as well. The ultimate reality, the truth, it is ever present, is like a night to the ignorant. We are talking of the soul. The soul remains a belief that, okay, there is a soul in me. The soul is not a realized concept. They are asleep to it. They cannot perceive or value it, just as night dwellers cannot perceive the day. This is because their intellect is not oriented towards it. Atad buddhihi is the way that he puts it. Tad is that. Om Tat Sat, in that the Tad. Atad buddhihi is not towards that. Herein it represents Tattvamasi, that supreme, the soul, that Paramatma, the Atma Swarupam in you. And their vision is veiled by ignorance. So what the wise sees as reality, the ignorant find incomprehensible and irrelevant. Oh, what is there, man? All this Atma and all those Jnana has got nothing to do. They don't realize that the concept being spoken is you, yourself. What your experiences are with the world is going to continue to change. What is not going to change is you. And having the realization and an understanding of you will remove the disturbances that the world is causing in you and will make you independent. This becoming an independent is not even a value that the commoners are able to see. So one thing we can say, we are not commoners. In that very state, which is marked by the supreme reality, while this ignorant remains asleep in the slumber of avidya, the disciplined one, the sanyami, the yogi who has mastered his senses is awake and aware. This reinforces the verse. The self-controlled is awake in that which is a night to all the being, which is ignorant to all the being, which is not known to all the common beings. The state in which beings are said to be awake, that is the waking world of grasping the objects, desires, and identifications, right? So, abheda lakshanayam, avidya nishayam is the way that he has put it, is actually a night of ignorance marked by false distinctions and a lack of true knowledge. We still see it as this, that, you, me. The division is a natural aspect which is driving everything that we are trying to do. That is what Acharya points out as a lack of true knowledge through false distinctions or false boundaries being created. The beings in it are asleep even while thinking they are awake. Just as dreamers are active in dreams but are truly disconnected from the truth. That whole waking world full of activity is night to the Munihi, the sage whose vision rests in the Paramartha Tattvam, the supreme reality. This is because it is rooted not in ignorance for the sage, while it is rooted in ignorance for the commoner. Śaṅkarācārya is emphasizing that all karmic actions with doership, ego, and desire is born in the state of ignorance, avidya. Ataha karmani avidya avasthayam eva chodyante is the way that he puts it. The driver is that. Chodyante are impelled, urged, set into motion is the way that he has put it. Once true knowledge is realized, as in the true knowledge of the self, there is no more impulse towards action driven by I am the doer, I must gain this, etc. He gives the poetic example, just as night and its darkness vanish the moment the sun arises, ignorance too vanish when the knowledge arises. And action based on ignorance becomes irrelevant. This is a place where, again, there are people who are misunderstanding. The action based on ignorance becomes irrelevant is the clarity here that there will be actions in this body. That is not going to go away, but it becomes irrelevant. It is not going to be something that drives the soul. The soul remains the leader. That I, that Aham Swarupam, the true Satchitananda Swarupam, becomes the driver, becomes the bearer of the Prakriti. That shift happens. Śaṅkarācārya is pointing out that karma, all worldly and Vedic activities, arises only as long as ignorance is mistaken for true knowledge. Avidya, when mistaken as truth, manifests the entire world of subject-object distinctions. It becomes the foundation for the action. But once self-knowledge arises and avidya is no longer accepted as valid as a result of the knowledge arising in you, there is no longer any justification for karma, because the very basis of doership and distinction falls away. We will have a Purva Paksha coming into question these things as well. But the concept that needs to be understood is not that they become actionless from the point of view of the world. The division ceases to exist, and the Prakritic Swarup is a continuity of action, and that continuity of action will still be borne, dharayati, by the Atman, by the self. And that self sees no difference, saying, this is him, this is me, he is mean to me, I am good to him, and so on. That kind of thought totally vanishes. The doership in the action that is being performed is also very easily lost. Instead of lost, maybe I should say, is washed away. There is no relevance to that kind of a doership, that kind of an ownership to the action. Associated with I, associated with the kshetra that you are doing the paripalana will still be there, but not as I being impacted by it. It is the movement of the kshetra and the redefinitions that we will have to continue to work towards. An example could be when Arjuna's son was killed. Arjuna vowed, saying that unless I am going to kill Jayadratha, who is considered as the cause of this adharma towards Abhimanyu, say, if in case I don't kill him by the sunset, I will let go of my pran, is the way that he takes the pratignya. Bhagavan shifts in accordance with the situation and changes the goalpost for him to be able to kill the Jayadratha in accordance with the vow. When there is a situation that is changing, there is an adaptability, but there is no ownership saying that I did it. We are saying that Lord Krishna did it, but in Lord Krishna, there is no sense of I did it. The only sense is, this is the dharma, this is what I need to maintain, and in order for me to maintain it, this is the right action, and this action has been done in the Prakriti. I have enabled the Prakriti to perform this action. That clarity should come into us on everything that we do. The next, he says, Śaṅkarācārya is presenting two contrasting perspectives. The doer, he says that a karta thinks the Vedas are valid. They instruct me to do my duty, so I must act. This happens only while ignorance is taken to be real. But the self-knower, the one who understands this Atma Swarupa, one who has realized the Atma Swarupa is him, Aham Brahmasmi. All of this, the doer, the doing, the duties, are just projections of avidya, like a dream in the night. And therefore, he's not bound by the Vedic enjoinments to act, Vedic compulsions to act. He has no obligation to perform karma because his knowledge shows there is no real duality. His sole right or eligibility lies in complete renunciation of action. Sarva karma sannyasa is what he establishes. When he says this, he further, he quotes, Śaṅkarācārya will give a future verse in Bhagavad Gītā, chapter 5, Shloka 17. Krishna says, Tad buddhayas tadatmanas tannishthaha tatparayanaha. Those whose intellect is set on that Brahman, whose self is that, who are devoted and established in that. He uses this verse to confirm his ongoing argument. The self-knower is not eligible for karma because he sees no duality. He is established in knowledge, jnana nishtha, not action. Therefore, Bhagwan will explicitly state that a person's adhikara, the eligibility, lies only in the knowledge. Once that aham has been realized to be the Brahman, and that is the perspective of the soul, and that changes, alters everything from within. That is the point that Śaṅkarācārya is trying to make here. And these are all the verses which create a beautiful set of debates with the Dvaita Parampara or Visishtadvaita Parampara and so on. The way that they would see it is the way that you and I are seeing it, which is to say that he has no action to be performed. It is not that he has no action to be performed. The main value that one must see here is I am the performer. That kind of a division gets erased. It is not I who is performing it. It is Prakriti Sambhavam is the way that we should see it. And that will be a shloka in which he will say, Guna Guneshu Vartante iti Matvana Sajjate is the way that shloka will go. He will realize that the Prakriti which is made of the three guns, they are interacting amongst themselves. And because he is in this realization, he is not moved from within. And that is the reference that we can also take for what Śaṅkarācārya is putting here in the Bhāṣyam. When this is said, the Purva Paksha asks the question, Tatra api pravartaka pramana abhave pravritti anupapatti iti chet. Even in that state, if there is no motivator or a valid praman, then how is activity, pravritti, possible? Isn't it illogical? So it is a very deep question. You may also think of it like that, hey, how is that he has become an akarta? Or how is it that he is not bound to any karmic duties? He is asking, if he loses the motivating factor, then without that particular praman, which is the Vedic in this case, which is what Acharya had quoted, then how is pravritti possible at all? How is the kshetra paripalana possible at all? Karma requires a motivating factor, pravartaka, such as desire, duty, or Vedic guidance, a valid source like the Vedas to say, do this. But in jnana nishtha, the self-knower sees no duality, no doer, no result. So how can any activity arise in such a state? Is a question that the Purva Paksha is asking. He dismisses the need for any motivator like a praman or a karma once self-knowledge arises. He says self-knowledge, the Atma Jnana, is unique. It is about your own self. It doesn't need an external authority or a motivator like Veda. Why? Because it is self-revealing. Everything else is revealed to you. As an object, you identify them. But the subject is always self-revealed to you. It is the culmination of all inquiries. Once the self is realized, the dualistic world of knower, known, pramana is fully dissolved. That is a place where Acharya always emphasizes that Atma Jnana has the swaroop of I is the undivided wholesome of the entire Prakriti and Purusha. That is what is Brahman. It is not that the Prakriti is dismissed and the Brahman is seen. The Atma Anatma Vivekam, when we do it, that is for our buddhi to understand it. It is needed for our buddhi to understand. But once you have realized the Aham, this Atma Anatma doesn't become too different. Actually, they culminate into one to become what we are trying to call and let the buddhi know that it is the Brahma Swarupam. He concludes with a powerful metaphor. Just as a dream seems real while dreaming, but is discarded once you wake up. So too the last pramana, as in the Shabda pramana. So we know that there are 6 pramans, of which the last one is considered to be the Shabda pramana, the scriptural instructions. Basically, we refer to Veda, is transcended after the self-realization. Till the time the self-realization is happening, we are going to take the scriptural guidance for us to be performing as a doer, so that we are within the bounds of Dharma. Once the self has been realized, you transcend that situation, is the way Śaṅkarācārya responds. Śaṅkarācārya concludes his argument saying, just like in the world, when you know something, example, this is fire, the pramana serves its job and does not lead to more activity. It simply ends the enquiry. Likewise, in the case of the self-knower, once the self-realization arises, the ignorance is fully destroyed. No new motivation for action can arise. Hence, karma is no longer relevant. The self-knower is established only in renunciation, not in ritual action or worldly duties based on the mistaken idea of being a doer. So long as I think I am the doer, I have seen a duality. When I renounce it, this duality goes away. When that realization happens, you are no longer a doer. You are still Sarva kartaram abhimam vidhi kartaram avyayam. I am a non-doer and I am imperishable, is the way that Bhagavan will say. That is what is the power of the self-knower is. And the self-knower knowing is a natural and automatic revelation as we learn and as we practice. And that knowledge is the igniter for all the changes to happen. Until that time, we continue our journey with Shravanam, Mananam, and Nitidhyasanam. And thereafter, we will continue with the Shravanam, Mananam, and Nitidhyasanam without having any binding towards that Shravanam, without having any compulsive action towards it. It is a prakritik sambhavam, that's all. That is all it is the realization that we will get to. The world will not stop functioning the way that it is functioning. It is not. But your outlook to the world would have totally changed, and you would have seen no difference between you and the world. That is the self-knowledge. There are some alternate versions. Paramartha Tattvam is equated to Advaita Tattvam. This is based on what we have seen in Śaṅkarācārya's Bhāṣyam. A jnani is considered as one who has attained the Advaita Darshanam of the world. In that darshan, while he remains in the state of alert, those who see Dvaitam remain ignorant. That is the Niśā. From an Advaita Darshanam point of view, they qualify the Niśā and Jagrata. Such people are driven by the Veda Vadam, the Karma Kanda, which serves as the basis for action and purposes, that to which they are in Jagrat Avastha. The one in Advaita Darshana is devoid of being influenced. It is taking the same Bhāṣyam and putting this interpretation, saying that with the Advaita Darshanam, that is what we also said, but Advaita as a concept, as an object, when you make it, it is no longer Advaita Darshanam. The Advaita Darshanam is very, very important, that your vision has become Advaitam, not your explanation of something. When you explain things as Advaitam, it is still an object, very similar to Advaitam or Visishtadvaitam or any other philosophy you take. It is a subject-object relationship. The wholesomeness is what the Advaitam should represent. The rope and snake, one who sees the example that they use is the famous one. One who sees the Maya, sees the Sat in that Maya. Jagrat for the general beings. The Maya is invisible to the person who sees the base. As in, one who sees the truth, the Mithya or the Maya becomes invisible. That object is still there. I have seen the rope, which is the truth. I can see the object still now. That snake has become invisible to me. They give the meaning that which exists is one. The central theme in the shloka is the one existence is seen in two different ways, is the way they try to conclude. A nice one. What one sees, the other doesn't, and vice versa. And that is what it is represented in this shloka, is the way there are some books which are reflecting. For example, those who are reading Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhu, that very famous book, that is also something that I refer to learn. Right. He states there are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and is awake to the cultivation of the self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage are night for the persons materially absorbed. The way he concludes is Jnani goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by the material reactions. This is very different to how we have interpreted. So I'm just bringing it to you, showing it to you to say that there are so many interpretations that are available. We have seen what is Acharya's Bhāṣyam as well. How you take, how you imbibe this into you is up to you. Go on the journey. In our darshana, we say that when this Advaita forms in you, I versus the world, I and you, that duality ceases to exist. And you see things as Prakriti and Purusha and I, which is the composite of the two. There is no distinction. When that happens, that is what we call as the Jnana Nishtha. Here the topic is about Sthitapragya Lakshan or Sthitapragya Upayam. Hence, we in our darshana focus on the self, the differentiating factors. So that is why we have taken that approach of trying to understand and how to overcome that which binds you. Acharya introduces the 70th shloka here. Moksha is attained only by the wise, the Vidwan, who has given up all Ishana's desire for Putra Ishana or Vitta Ishana and so on, the desires for son, wealth, worlds, etc. This is as per the Upanishad. A true Jnani, firm in self-knowledge, not by the worldly person still engaged in desire, who has not given up the idea of doership or enjoyership, asanyasan. So Acharya says, Lord Krishna, Bhagavan, is about to illustrate this principle using a metaphor which occurs in the next verse. Bhagavad Gītā, Shloka number 70 in the chapter 2. We will take this Shloka in our next class. A very beautiful metaphor. Right? So the way that the rivers flow into the ocean is the metaphor. So we will take a break here today and we will get into the last 3 shlokas in our next class. And Shrikant and Ramani Bhavi.
Yeah, Guruji, thank you for a beautiful session. I thought today's session was very dense, very pithy, and I think I'll have to go back and listen to the session again. A lot of concepts were revealed, and I think, it is really, really dense, is what I thought. So I think I'll have to go back and review the material again. But again, I have more questions actually, more questions in terms of. I guess I'm unsure of what to ask really. I guess, and again, especially at the end when there was the in the Bhāṣyam side, when there was an alternative perspective that you shared, I thought there was conflicting, and yet it's saying you have to go back and find in yourself, I guess, the duality, right? So the duality that you talk about is that seeing both of them at the same time, and yet being aware that both are the same. So I'm kind of conflicted on that. Again, reflecting on what's happening with myself in my life, and so I have some questions. So I'll probably go back to the session again and maybe come back to you with more questions.
Absolutely. This is one of the most difficult shlokas for comprehension. And similarly, in the 9th chapter also, we will see very difficult one. Right? In 2 shlokas, it will come in the second line and the first line of the other shloka. But when we get to those things, yes, your questions will be definitely welcome. Take your time. Listen to both this week's class and also the previous week's class. In the previous week's class, we had looked at it from a concept point of view. In this one, the attempt was to provide an explanation, giving some Puranic instances so that you can put the right thought behind those perceptions or those kind of understandings. So it can elevate you in your exercise for going towards the self-knowledge.
I would have absolutely. Thank you so much, Guruji. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And feel free to post your questions in WhatsApp or something so that we can definitely take it up and explore further for the benefit of all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we will go upwards. Hari Bhaiya.
Namaskar, Guruji.
Namaskar ji.
It was an excellent class. Maybe there are few perspectives and thoughts and acts. Those are three things captured in my head. How you explained about more than the results. That's really helpful, Guruji, for the situations I'm going through. And of course, I've asked the question, maybe I asked that question 5, 6 times, Guruji, but getting registered into the head, like it takes 4 or 5 times, right? We're fortunate
it
to
has
have
taken
you
lifetime
explaining
for
that.
me.
No, Guruji, I felt bad that now I went back to look into that class again. And I realized that actually it was true. You were traveling, you took the class, and I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was good, Guruji. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Even this class is helping me a lot.
Absolutely. Well, you take care. And if there are any questions, feel free to post it. I think your questions are definitely one which is more like than the class from others. So
You plan to have a dedicated session on that?
I know that is a place where
Oh,
the question and answers, we do want to do that, but it
okay.
should be more along the lines of, open debate kind of a thing. After this class is over, I will be speaking about it. So I'll let you know.
Okay, Guruji.
Or let everyone. Prabhakar Bhaiya.
Namaskar, Guruji. Thank you so much. During the class, I feel so elated and having understood. But I want a quick fix. Say, for example, uh, getting back to the I am the doer mindset. How do I avoid? Is there a shortcut or is there something which can remind me time and again to come back, think you are not the doer, you are just an instrument?
There is no magic. This is what I think even the great sages who have taken up absolute tapasya and they are trying to go into sannyas and they are working their lifetime to create that shift in their mind. The problem is, the way that Upanishad says, paranchikani, all our instrument of knowledge is external facing. And because of this, Bhagavan has kind of punished us. We are always looking outwards. And the internalization is somehow not possible. The only way is externalize it, understand it, and then try to internalize it. Wait for the shloka number 72, in which I have tried to conclude this entire session. For that, 70 and 71 are also equally important. In the 72nd shloka, when we talk about it, that shift we will talk about. Basically, creating an image, understanding the self, and not seeing the image as the self. Rather, a reflection of you is what this image is that shift that needs to happen. And to get to that point, it requires a magical ashirvad. It's a magical blessing, the prasada, that Bhagavan's prasad is what we always point it out to. So there is no magic. Don't try to force it, because when you force it, you will fall prey on your own chara, the feeding thing that you have put. So you will become your own prey if in case you try to force it. allow that maturity to grow in you. That's
Great.
and the reason why we say the Shravanam, Mananam, Nitidhyasanam is needed is because without this, the natural tendency will take over and you will become a person who is more deep rooted in the Dvaitam, and that Dvaitam will continue to make you as an actor. So it is an exercise that we continue to do for that Jnana to become Prakasham. That Jnana is self, Swaprakasham is the word that we use. And that Swaprakasham should be realized. And for that, you have to go through the concept of removing the differentiation in the things that you are seeing externally. So long as I see externally different things, that person is good, this person is intelligent, this person is stupid. When we try to create the differences, it is going to only further become more concrete towards that journey towards not becoming a jnani. You must be able to overcome those differences that you are seeing around in the world. As you develop that equilibrium, this will automatically arise in you, where you will start seeing you as in this body as part of the Prakriti as well. And that which remains is you. In one of the Upanishads, they say neti neti, remove everything, and that which remains after that is you. Right. So it is a journey that you have to go through in terms of realization. But the realization is a magical switch. It just turns. So I hope I explained properly to your question.
Yeah, I'm praying for the magic to happen. Thank you.
Again, there is a very beautiful question from Hari Bhaiya. The question is, why would some people suffer more than others, even though they are successful in their journey? And although health could pull them down and their energy is coming down and all those things, there are lots of people. I am looking at X person and I'm seeing that person to be suffering. Whether that person is suffering or not, I don't know. That is one of the perspective of it. The question here is, why is it that one is suffering more despite putting the best of the effort? And that is something that we have seen in our life. In several of the movies and stories that we have read in the books, we have seen that suffering happens. The best example from today's quote will be Harishchandra. Harishchandra was seen as a person who has undergone so much of a suffering. But Harishchandra was not suffering. He was firm in the value that he upheld. The suffering is a mental disturbance that happens in us, and that is the Vedantic response. But in the Laukikam is the word that we use. We do come across situations where such differences can be held. When Haribhaiya asked this question to me, I was telling him about an experience that I had gone through, where we happened to discuss this for almost a week. Wherever we go, it will come back to the same topic again. Right? We had the whole day, and wherever we go, this topic will come back. And this Laukikam could not be clearly explained. We did try, karma theory, karma-based theories and other things to explain it. But what I realized was the exercise of having a healthy debate on this particular topic, very focused, right, where people can put their perspective. They can bring their stories to say, hey, this is what happened to such and such person. Why would this be? Right? Is it karma? Or can there be something else? Is it agami karma or prarabdha karma? We can continue to go and explore. And we will not come up with a true answer because the Vedantic true answer has been already revealed. We can definitely talk about it then too, but we are looking at it from a Laukika point of view, where the objective must be merely discussing it and doing a deep analysis on this. So the thought was, maybe if it permits, if time permits or something like that, on a common day. It could be a Saturday, or it could be weekend is much more easier. We can have some kind of an open discussion, not at this late an hour for Hari Bhaiya. I don't mind doing it at 5 a.m. in the morning, but I am fresh at that time, not others are. Ideally, a time where it is convenient for others to join, given Prabhakar is in India, and do some kind of a discussion. That was the thought that we had shared, and that is what Hari Bhaiya was bringing it. And I had it as a last item to be spoken today. If you have any thoughts, feel free to share. Feel free to post that in the WhatsApp. And if we can do some kind of a brainstorming, keeping it open, where at least I can listen rather than talk, I'll be more than happy to facilitate and try to give pointers where it can further make our understanding better. With this, I will take a pause and look forward to your suggestions, recommendations, questions, or whatever it is in the WhatsApp, so that we can have some kind of a fun-filled discussion group, debate, arguments, or whatever we call, to explore within ourselves and reveal the truth to ourselves. Thank you all, and a good night to you.
Thank you,
Harihi
Guruji.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sorry, I think I cut someone in. Is there anything you wanted to say, Haribiya?
Oh, Guruji, thank you so much for connecting on that topic. And then also, it does require time. You're absolutely right, Guruji. Thank you so much.